What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. We are live breaking down game number 63 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, losing this one 4-1 to the Vancouver Canucks, going to 38-17 and 8 on the season. This is a rough one for this Leafs team here tonight, and specifically in the third period. That was a pathetic third period, and yet again, here we are. The gripe with this team, what they continue to do, we watch the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over again. 63 straight games of this nonsense from this god-awful, useless, lazy power play. Whoop-de-doo, you've got all the skill in the world, but you give up two shorthanded goals like that to the Vancouver Canucks here tonight. That is a pathetic effort from this power play, and the fact that Sheldon Keefe continues to go out there and play the same guys night in, night out on that power play is insane. At this point, the stupidity out of Sheldon Keefe to continue to do that is mind-boggling watching this. It is insane what is happening. There is a lot to get into, especially in this third period. We will break it all down, but I cannot and will not get over the fact that this power play runs the way that it does. There is no intensity, there is no effort, there is no urgency from this power play. They continue to make stupid mental mistakes, mental errors, soft plays on that power play that cost you, whether it is time, momentum, or two shorthanded goals on the same power play. It is egregious at this point. Morgan Rielly cannot and should not be the number one defenseman on that power play. You had Sandy in here. I get it. He wanted to move on. It wasn't going to work. He needed to go somewhere else for his own sake. He wasn't really fitting in the lineup. Whatever you say about his power play, it doesn't. They just couldn't find a way for him at 5-on-5 to get him in. He was the odd man out. But he was a guy who was here. You move on. You bring in Gustafsson, who has 38 points on the year, primarily on the power play in Washington, and yet they say, nah, you can't be the number one guy, even though we're putting you in the lineup with 6 other guys so that we can go 7-11. That is also an insane move to continue to do this. I get it, you want to see guys, but put them in a regular spot. Now your forwards are out of whack. Now your defense are out of whack. And yet now you have this guy in here who's a somewhat power play specialist, and he's not even playing the number one power play. You continue to put a guy who has no shot at the point. It is ridiculous. And a super chat here from Maxentius Decimus, and it goes along with what I'm saying. So thank you, Max, for the super chat. But Max saying Rielly tonight, and it is just a bunch of sad faces there for Morgan Rielly. Yes, Morgan Rielly has not been good this year. He's not good defensively. He hasn't had the offensive game. He's being force-fed onto the power play because God knows what. Maybe it's for the reason, maybe it's just because they think, oh, we paid this guy all the money. We got to play him out there. I don't really know what it is, but regardless, you're in a spot with this team where it's like, change something. Change something. Split them up. Put O'Reilly on the first unit. Put Achari in front of the net for all I care. But God, stop putting those 5 clowns together on that power play unit. This is insanity to continue to run them out there again. It's to the point where we sat here and we complained about it, where it's like, why this power play can't create? They can't get things done from that side. They're not doing this effectively. Yes, I fully will admit, yes, they're in top 10 in the NHL in their power play. I get it, but my point on the power play is they just have so much skill that at some point it has to work for you. You have to be able to score goals like that. So they do. They get the goals every now and then they sit there and go, well, we scored, so it's fine. No. Look at the process, not just the result. You can look at the result, but look at the process. And guess what? The process is not good enough on that power play. The zone entry takes 30 seconds every time they want to enter the zone. Trying to set up in the offensive zone takes another 10-15 seconds for them to get set up. Okay, now you've burned 45 seconds of your power play trying to get yourself ready to start the power play. You got 1:15. They pass it around slowly. They're not moving quick. There's no urgency. They're not getting good quality shots on net. And then now we're in a spot here where they scored 2 shorthanded goals. It is now costing you the way that your power play is being run. It is egregious for this to continue to be run out there. So it is insane. And super chat here from M&H Crush. M&H, thank you for the super chat as always. M&H saying, felt like a playoff game, trying to be fancy and only 1 goal to show for it. Power play does nothing out in the first round. Look, this is my point again with this power play. Special teams are not everything in the playoffs. It's one of those ones where, yeah, you watch the NFL special teams, they mean a lot come playoff time. Like, God, do they mean a lot when it is in the playoffs? Because special teams can make or break a game. They can make or break momentum, the way things are being played, the way things happen out there. In the NHL, it's not to the same extent. It's not as important. But guess what? When they come, they are very important. You need to capitalize. Your penalty kill needs to be very sharp. Thank God the Leafs have a sharp penalty kill. But your power play needs to be able to take advantage of those opportunities, and yet they can't do so. And a lot of it has to do with what we've said here. The intensity of the power play, the way that they play out there, trying to get things done and just not succeeding because of lack of urgency. The other team steps it up in the playoffs. Everything is more intense in the playoffs. So if the other team's top penalty killing unit is going out there and suffocating you and you're doing nothing to change it, you're not changing the unit, you're not changing the guys on it, you're not changing the way that they play, you're going to get the same result over and over and over again. That's what happens. That's how this works. You can't. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And we just keep seeing the same thing over and over and over again from this power play. Like, please change something. Change something. I mean, if these little errors are not fixed, yes, first round exit. Like, yes. I don't get it. Jeff McKay with a super chat here. Thank you, Jeff, for that. Jeff says, I hate it, but I called the shorthanded goal. I didn't call 2 in a row, though. Yeah, I didn't call 2 in a row, though, either. But I agree with you. The way that they played on the power play, it was predictable that it was going to bite them in the ass. It was very predictable that it was going to come back and hurt them the other way. I don't know. You don't change anything. You play so lackadaisical. You got guys on the other side who are playing up to you. Yeah, you have to play at 4 p.m. on a Saturday because to cater to your team, they're going to be extra juiced up to beat you. And yet, I mean, it was predictable. Jeff, you're right. It was predictable. The second one, not so much. I didn't think we were going to have to see that. But the first one, yeah, predictable. Super chat from Colin McGillis. Colin saying, coaching is starting to piss me off, and Matthews has been non-existent lately. He seems uninterested, and he's going to ask for the highest paid contract in the league this year in typical Leafs fashion. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily just be like, oh, Leafs fashion. That's professional sports, and whether you like it or not, it is the way that it is, and I think everyone would understand that you're going to be in a spot to get the most amount of money you can and set you up for the rest of your life. You're going to do so, but the other points that Colin makes, I would agree with. Coaching is really starting to bug me because we're now at a point where 3 years later, Dubas is changing all this stuff around. He's adjusting his philosophy. He's not changing his philosophy, but he's adjusting it for sure. That's why you see Luke Shen, Jake McCabe, Lafferty, Achari, O'Reilly brought in here. It's because he's adjusting his philosophy. He's realizing there's not just holes that need to be fixed. Maybe there's little pieces to change the way that this is being played that can help this team. And he did it. He went and did it and made these changes. And yet Sheldon Keefe is sitting there saying, I'm running the things the exact same way, whether they work or not, because I think they should work. So run it back, and it does not work. Why Justin Hull continues to be in this lineup, I don't know. Why Timothy Liljegren hasn't been in the lineup the last 2 games, I don't know. Why we're going 7 defensemen and 11 forwards here, I kind of understand because you want to see everybody, but still, you need to be able to get chemistry out of guys in this lineup, and if you're going to run them out there with 11 forwards, guess what happens? Someone has to constantly be rotating through, or wingers have to rotate through, or centers have to rotate through, and you can't necessarily just build up that chemistry. And when you inject these new guys into the lineup, you need to allow some of the chemistry to happen. Who works with who? Who doesn't work with who? How many minutes can guys play? Like, these are things that you need to find out, and you are not going to if you're running 7 defensemen and 11 forwards. It's just not going to happen. I am mind blown on that. And then obviously coming down to the power play does not work. It is bothersome. It is bothersome. And then even with what Colin's saying here, Matthews offensively has been non-existent. I agree. Defensively, I still stand by the fact that he is a much better, much improved defensive player. He plays an incredible 200-foot game. But outside of that, correct. Offensively, not there. We're looking at a guy who hasn't even hit 30 goals yet on the season, is not on pace to be anywhere near where you'd like him to be. It's not being there offensively for him, and to sit here and blame it on playing with Nylander or something, I think is just a cop-out. This is just being Matthews not playing offensively how he needs to be and how he should be, because if he's not there in the playoffs, this will come down to them again. This will come down to the top guys and them not performing. So it is pathetic, and it needs to change. Max Entius Decimus with the super chat here as well. Thank you, Max, for the super chat. Again, Max saying, why is Keefe playing Hull over Lily with a little teary-eyed face there? Don't know. This is one I don't know. If it's up to me, Hull would have been traded at the deadline. We would have had him gone, and he wouldn't have even had the option. I made the joke the other day that it's the same situation as it was in Moneyball when Billy Bean goes down to the office, wants Hatteberg to play at first, and tells the manager, you got to play Hatteberg at first tonight because guess what? I traded Pena to the Tigers playing against us, so Hatteberg has to play first. That's what should have happened. Hey, Keefe, I traded Hall. You can't play him tonight. You can't play him. So madly frustrating from that standpoint, and what Keefe's doing is really just starting to be very bothersome. Super chat here as well from Dan Freeman. Dan didn't say anything, but Dan, send a next message and I'll make sure to pull it up because I appreciate the super chats nonetheless. And I know sometimes people just forget to put a message in with it, but thanks for the super chat, Dan. I'll get to everything in the chat here the best that I can. I did see a funny comment. I believe it was Craig Harrison before I started. I added another 10 minutes. I just needed 10 minutes to get myself started and ready for this stream, as we, like putting different stats and stuff on the screen, stuff like that. I got to spend a little bit of extra time to make sure it was ready, and the game runs a little late. But Craig Harrison saying Zach adding an extra 10 minutes, punching a wall right now. He's got ice on his hand. Yeah, basically was ready to be punching wall tonight watching this one because it's just infuriating. It's an effort thing. And at the end of the day, this one, what it comes down to for me is the top guys. And I know that people are going to disagree with what went on in Tampa today. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won 2 Stanley Cups in the last 3 years. They went back-to-back, and then they lost in the finals last year. Steven Stamkos has scored 60 goals in his career, won a Rocket Richard, Kucherov, a Hart Trophy. Like, these guys are veterans in the league. Braden Point has been a veteran in the league. John Cooper benched them for an entire third period. They played 0 shifts today against Buffalo, losing in the third period. John Cooper looked down the bench and said, sending a message is more important tonight than points in the standings. And guess what? Sitting Stamkos, Kucherov, and Point tells every single other guy in this lineup, you don't play, you don't bring the intensity, and your ass can sit the hell down too. Because if you think that you are safe, shake your head and take a look at the 3 best players on this team sitting their asses down for an entire third period. Not a shift, not 2 shifts, 0 shifts in the third period. That sends a message to every guy on the team. Every single guy. And Sheldon Keefe has not held Nylander, Tavares, Marner, or Riley accountable to any degree this year. Not once has he done it. I'm not necessarily sitting here saying there's been games where all 4 of them should have played 0 shifts in a third period. I get that. I'm not saying that. But none of them have had any kind of repercussions from not holding up their end of the bargain and You are the best players on this team. You are paid the most money of the players on this team. You need to perform. You need to meet expectations. Some nights is an off night, for sure. But to go situations like this where there is that lack of energy, that lack of effort, it is pathetic. And then that is the shit that seeps into the rest of the guys on the team, where they sit there and they watch you not giving effort and still getting your normal shifts and still getting your cookies on the power play. And they sit there and it just creeps into them of, those guys aren't trying. Those guys goddamn suck tonight. And yet they're getting their minutes. They're getting to go. There's a degree of keep playing them, let them get through it. I understand that. This isn't it. At some point, send some type of message. Matthews, you can't do anything offensively. Can't put you out in a certain situation, maybe. John Tavares, Mitch Marner, not a great game from him here tonight. Sit your ass down. Send a message. Hold guys accountable. Because I guarantee you, as much of a story as that is here in the media about what happened with Tampa today, the guys in that locker room realize what happened. Stamkos, Kucherov, and Point, they're not turning around and creating a mutiny against John Cooper. John Cooper is an incredible coach. They set NHL records with wins and points. They had the best season in their franchise history. They've won 2 Stanley Cups. They went to a 3rd Cup final 3 years in a row. He knows what he's doing. That team is very good, and yet he's still capable of holding them accountable. It does 2 things. It first sends a message to the guys who got sat that they're not above the law, and the second thing is it tells every other guy down on the bench that everyone is held to the same standard. Not in terms of execution of play. The 4th line guys aren't expected to score 60 goals like Steven Stamkos or Austin Matthews, but they're expected to give the same energy, the same effort, the same intensity. That's what that does. Madly frustrating. Madly frustrating. We got 200 people watching right now. If you're watching and you have not subscribed to this channel, please make sure to do so. We are trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by playoff time, and you guys have helped us out a lot to get there, have made it really possible, but we still have some work to do. So if you're watching and you haven't hit subscribe, please take a second to hit that subscribe button. And the other thing, we're only at 25 likes right now. There's only a quarter, or less than a quarter, an eighth of you who have liked this video. So if you're watching and you haven't hit like yet, please make sure to like this stream. We can definitely get to 100 likes by the end of this one. Why not 150 even? Hit that like button. Appreciate everyone tuning in. And I do want to remind people, if you want to call into the show here tonight, if you want to have your opinions heard, or you want to say something or ask questions, whatever it is, you can call into the show. Go to the Leafs Digest Discord. I'll send a link for it right now into the chat. You can click on this link. You can join the Discord, and once you're in the Discord, you can send me a message, and I will take some callers. I'll send people links so that they can call in and let me know your thoughts. But I'm interested to hear what people think and how they feel about this game here tonight, and especially the way that things are being run with this team. But I do have some super chats, so I want to make sure to get to these here. But Dan Freeman, thank you again for the super chat. Dan saying, Dubas should be taking away the coach's favoritism. He did that with Babcock. He needed to take the Hall option away from Keefe, but they're boys, so Hall should be sitting again tonight. Liljegren over Hall. Agreed. It needed to be taken away. I think it should have been taken away at the deadline, just to the extent of, like, you can't play this guy because he isn't here. He's not a Maple Leaf, so you can't play him. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But yeah, it should have been taken away. He did do it with Babcock, you're right, but something needs to be said in terms of what goes on, and I agree, Liljegren is better than Hall by a significant margin. But another super chat here, Colin McGillis with the super chat. Thank you, Colin. Colin saying, I like O'Reilly, but he's basically Tavares 2.0. We definitely got slower with these trades. Also, why didn't we get Chikrin? He went for a way lower price than anyone expected. We needed him big time. I feel like they probably just looked at it, felt like it wasn't gonna, they weren't willing to pay the price. I don't really know why we didn't get him. When I saw how much it cost to get him, that was a no-brainer to me, where I kind of just sat there and was like, yeah, This could have been done very easily. This guy could have been here for a couple of years after. He already looks good in Ottawa. So, yeah, I don't know. That's an interesting one. I think that he definitely could have been here in Toronto. But I like O'Reilly. I think he's good. This team did get slower, though. You are correct on that. I don't think it was in a bad way. You do see the physicality. Everyone kind of sits there and says, you know what? They got slower, but we needed to get tougher. And I think we saw that. I don't know. We didn't really change too many guys in the lineup. Only 2 guys went out, Sandin and Engvall. I don't think it makes us ridiculously slower, but definitely does make this team slightly slower than where it was at before. Another super chat here. Leo, my guy Leo, went to the Marlies game. Hopefully, I believe Leo had a blast there. So shout out to Leo. But Leo saying, I honestly think Keefe should be given the boot. Who'd you replace him with? Leo, I appreciate the question. This is not something I can get into right now. And I mean, the reason behind that is because I don't know who's available, and we're not going to fire the guy during the season right now, especially as you're approaching the playoffs. Like, it's not happening. He's going to be here. We can't really get to that point of like, all right, well, we got to fire this guy. I just don't know who you'd bring in, really. It's just dependent on who's available, who gets fired, who's out there right now. I don't know. I don't know. I do appreciate the super chat, though. But, yeah, there's a level of frustration right now going around with Leafs fans about Sheldon Keefe and what's going on with him. Super chat here from Dan Freeman. Greenway went to Buffalo for peanuts. Yes, he did. He was an interesting player. He needed a change of scenery. He needed to get out of Minnesota and kind of change things up. And he ends up going to Buffalo for, I believe it was a pick. That's definitely a guy, 2 picks. That's definitely a guy who would have been an interesting player to have here in Toronto. You would have been 6'6", 230 pounds, only $3 million per season. He's a left-handed left winger. I don't know that he's a top 6 guy, but definitely would have been an interesting third-line guy. Struggling for points this year, really. 7 points in 45 games. But that being said, new team, new scenery, new organization, maybe new line mates, and you get a different situation out of him. I think he would have been an interesting one, and yeah, he didn't go for much to Buffalo there. But again, I do think that Sheldon Keefe, Kyle Dubas, Brendan Shanahan, their plan all along has been we needed to save money so that Matt Murray and Matthew Nyes can come join this team at deadline time, and that was the extent of it. That was where they were at, and that was what they were content with doing in terms of moves. So, God, frustrating one here tonight, guys. Frustrating one all around. I really don't know. Like, I'm not going to panic about the playoffs after this game, but it's one of those ones where it's a really concerning one because the power play sucked, and the power play has sucked for a while. And then on top of that, it won't change, and they refuse to change it. Stephen Beer saying, hey, Zach, in the first period, our boys played solid D. Second and third period, we quit playing. Is it me or is the Canucks ice an issue? For some reason, we struggle there for years now. Potentially could be an issue. I know certain rinks around the NHL aren't the best ice. I don't know if Vancouver is one of those rinks or not, but I think Vancouver also plays with a degree of being pissed off that they have to play at 4 p.m. their time so that we can fit it in for the Leaf schedule and cater to the Leaf audience. It makes sense that we do. I'm not saying that it shouldn't be done. It definitely should be done. That being said, they probably pisses them off having to do it nonetheless. So maybe there's an element to that where they're playing up to it. We also did see Rick Tocchet say earlier today that this is like a playoff game to them when they get to play against the Leafs. So they just play up to it. I don't know. if anyone wants to call in again, please join the Discord. I did send the link to the Discord into the chat there. You guys can send me a message to call in. I'll be happy to take calls tonight here. Get your opinions on the game. I don't foresee this one stopping short here, so we can go for as long as you guys want. As long as anybody wants to talk about anything, I'm willing to take calls in and hear what everyone has to say. So if you do want to call in, send me a message on Discord. Send me a message on Twitter. Send me a message on Instagram. I don't care where it is. At Zack Phil on Twitter, ZackPhill on Twitter. If you want to call in, you can message me on there. Follow me, message me on Twitter. I'll send you guys links. You can call in, and I will be happy to hear what people have to say. But remember, please hit that like button, hit subscribe on this channel if you haven't done so already. Trying to get to 5K. 5K by playoffs, guys. There's no reason we can't do it. Maybe 5K, we go mullets again. I don't know. Mullet for another first round playoff loss. Like that's what it is here. That's if they win the first round and I get one, then it's justified, which is the saddest statement I could have possibly made at this point in time. So that tells you my level of disappointment in this team right now. But 210 people watching, 70 likes. If you could get it to 100, I would appreciate that. That would mean a lot. Man. Taylor also asking, do we still have the passion? We always have the passion. No matter what, that doesn't change. The passion is here to stay. Maxentius Decimus says, I kind of blame Dubas for that a bit. Ryan Rabello, Liljegren has been easily their best defenseman this year. I would say so as well. Gio could probably get an honorable mention there, but Liljegren for the most part is at bare minimum the most improved. He's probably been the best defenseman that they've had on a consistency basis. Hasn't been great here in the last week or two, but outside of that, really, he's been very good. So for them to just have him sitting out of this lineup and it's not injury or illness related is ridiculous to me, especially when you're going to play number 3, because the guy is so bad that it's an embarrassment. It's truly an embarrassment to have him out there on a consistent basis and to go 7D and 11 forwards just to fit this guy in. What are we doing? Why are these decisions being made? Someone needs to be held accountable for it. You cannot continue to put him out there. It's not good enough. He's not good enough. He's not good enough. Take him out. Liljegren should be in there. I agree. I saw a comment from Soft Skull Bubble Brain getting mad about benching, saying it's old style to bench guys. It's 2023. So stupid. No. Do you not understand how competitive sports work at the professional level? You don't perform. You don't play. If you're going to sit here and say it's 2023, that is the most we can't bench guys. It's 2023. That's the most soft 2023 participation trophy ass mentality you could possibly have. We're not going to sit you because it's 2023 and benching is old school. Garbage, complete garbage to think that way or to do anything that way. You think John Cooper is thinking that way over there in Tampa? You think that's what led them to Stanley Cups? You think that is what led the Washington Capitals to win their Stanley Cup? Because I don't remember Barry Trotz 5-6 years ago being afraid to bench Alex Ovechkin, the best goal scorer in the NHL at the time, because he couldn't perform defensively. And Barry Trotz said, I don't give a shit about the fact that you score all those goals because you can't defend, and if you can't defend and you won't defend, you won't play, because we won't win Stanley Cups if you don't defend. He sat his ass down multiple times. And guess what? The message finally got through to Alex Ovechkin's head. He became a completely different player, hitting guys, blocking shots, committing to defense, back-checking, committing to being in the defensive zone. And what happened to the Washington Capitals? They won a Stanley Cup. John Cooper is not afraid to bench guys. John Cooper is not afraid to do the unpopular thing. And if you're going to sit here and say it's 2023, we can't bench guys, bogus. You're happy with making the playoffs and getting first round exits. That's what's going on there. You get to the first round. Here's your playoff trophy medal. You made it. Whoop-de-doo. Get out of here with that nonsense. That is garbage to have that happen. This is still professional sports. You are paid millions of dollars to do your job. And if you don't do your job, you don't just get to walk around freely and just pretend like nothing's happening and continue to get opportunity after opportunity. That's not the way the world or professional sports should work. If you go to your job every day and you suck, your employer is not going to say to you, hey, buddy, keep going. It's going to be okay. Keep going. No, your ass is getting warnings and then you're getting fired and you're sitting on your couch wearing wet pants, stains everywhere, watching the Leafs, pulling your horn, watching this team lose. That's where it's at, because reality is you don't perform, you don't get rewarded for it. Enough of the participation trophy stuff. That is ridiculous. Super chat here from Colin McGillis. Colin saying, I like O'Reilly, but he's basically Tavares 2.0. We definitely go. Oh, wait. I already read that one. My bad. Scrolled up on it. Where is this one? Here it is. But Bunting isn't a top 6. Greenway isn't a top 6. They will be equally be effective there. The difference is if Bunting starts shit, Greenway ends it overall. Patience is needed. Let's not freak out over a couple of games. Well, yeah, I agree not to freak out over a couple of games, but I agree not to freak out over a couple of games, but truthfully, like, it's more just frustrating because it's not just what's gone on in a couple of games. It's what we see out of this team on a consistent basis where they do this regularly. They act this way regularly. So I don't know. Like, there is a strong level of frustration from that standpoint of, like, this is, yes, a couple of games, but this is, like, habits that we see out of them on a regular basis. And in terms of people sticking up for people and fighting and stuff, we've got guys now. You got Luke Shen, McCabe, Achari. Like, those guys will fight. So I'm not really worried about that. I see someone saying Discord link not working. I'm sending a new one right now. Hopefully this one works. But yeah, and with, like, Bunting and Greenway, if they're the same effectiveness, then and Keefe or Dubas felt that they were the same effectiveness, then yeah, maybe you just said, why do we need another of what we already have? I don't know. For the Jordan Greenway thing. Dan Freeman with another super chat here. Thank you, Dan. Dan saying, then Ovi told the Leafs they need to learn that. Yeah, I would hope so. I hope that he learned that, because, oh my God. Like, look, Matthews, the way that he plays, he's bought in defensively. He's bought in that way. But yeah, they really need to get things together here, because there's a lot going on that is frustrating consistently. Kelly asking, question, Zach, why did they trade Sandin? One, he's been a little bit inconsistent about the last month and a half, 2 months. Two, there was some disgruntlement between him and the management and the team in the summer, where he wanted to get paid and he wanted guaranteed ice time. Like, he wanted money, but he wanted ice time. He wanted to know he was going to play, and they couldn't guarantee him that. The reason that he signed is because you had guys come in and get injured and basically running out of defensive options. So they said, all right, you're going to have an opportunity to do this here. So Sandin hops in, signs his contract, comes and joins the team, but he hasn't been the most consistent, and he's been slightly the odd man out. You go out and you acquire some new guys. They wanted to get Shen, and once that happens, you know at that point in time that things are going to be a little bit different and harder for you to get in the lineup. He was probably going to end up in a situation much like he was last year, where he couldn't play. in the playoffs. So they just said, all right, we're going to have to move on from him. And then apparently he was asking out as well, or like wanted to go out. So yeah, I think that's where it goes with that. You feel like you can kind of get the same player back in the position and then figure some other things out. But that's where I think that went with the Sandin situation, where they just felt like we should move on from this guy. We kind of have to move on from him. We can get the first round pick and a guy in Gustafsson to help on the second power play back. We might as well take advantage of this now, because he's not going to play in the playoffs and he doesn't want to be here. So why are we going to wait for another year of him on his contract if it's not going to work? Johnny with the super chat. Thank you for the super chat, Johnny. Johnny saying, Riley is the downfall of this team for years, and since he returned from injury, also this core does not have that drive needed to win in tough moments. No argument can be made otherwise. Riley is a massive problem. Since he returned from injury, he has been very bad. Like, very bad. It is to the point of just being absurd how bad he's been. That contract looks ridiculous. That contract just looks ridiculous on it. And the core guys are the ones who lack the drive. I agree. I don't think it's the team. I think O'Reilly, Achari, McCabe, Shen, I think those guys around them, like, they have passion. They have that fire up in them. I think it's the Matthews, Marner, maybe even Tavares at this point that is the ones lacking it and lacking that ability to get it done, because you're seeing all these guys changed around them, and yet it still feels the same, and it's probably going to feel the same as long as the nucleus is still here. So, yes, very, very frustrating, and I can't make an argument against that. I really can't. Super chat from Dan Freeman again. Thank you, Dan. Dan saying, Philly, I told my buddy tonight I would bet against the Leafs if I was betting tonight. This playing down thing is too real. I might have to start betting against my own team. Yes, you might. There have been nights this year where I have bet against the Leafs. Betting on the Coyotes to beat the Leafs. Betting on the Coyotes to win by 2 to beat the Leafs. Betting for Chicago to beat the Leafs. Yes, because this team plays down to their competition. They don't get things done that way. And I don't know. I don't know if it's that. Maybe it's that the big boys show up and they say, we're playing this crappy-ass team. We're going to kick the shit out of them. We're going to come in here and just steamroll them tonight and do whatever. And then it doesn't happen and they just say, all right, tonight's not our night. Bow out. I don't know. Maybe that's the case, but it's pathetic. It is pathetic what happens with this group and the way that they play against teams like this one here tonight. So just gross all around. Gross to see. I can't deal with that, with having that happen. But man, I don't know. And yeah, I don't know. Very, very frustrating. John D'Souza, Keefe is just as stubborn as Babcock. Why is Gio and Brody still not playing together? Why does he insist on playing Hall instead of Liljegren? Marner was perfect on the second line, so why change that? Yeah. John, we are pretty much on the same page here. I don't think he's the same stubbornness and rigidness as Babcock was. I don't think that that's completely fair. But I think that he falls in love with certain things, certain styles, certain matchups that really just don't work. And it feels like he's the only one who doesn't see it. And it's very, very infuriating because the honest truth is playing with Nylander is not the reason that Matthews hasn't been having the offensive production like he's had in years past. It's because Matthews isn't playing up to the level that he should be playing to. That's what this is. Like, this is not Matthews not getting the guy beside him to do it. Nylander has been having an amazing season. He was having it playing with Matthews. He gets taken out of there. They put Marner in. Yeah, Matthews goes off for 2 goals in one game. But then outside of that, it's been Ghost City again. And just from an offensive perspective, it just really has not been there for him. Then you kind of look at like what John's saying. Why is Gio and Brody still not playing together? Great question. Gio and Brody were a D pair when Gio won the Norris Trophy. And yet you go out and you acquire all these guys to put in. You can change the lines any way you'd like, and they still don't end up playing together. Why is Justin Holl still in the lineup? Not a single person other than Gordon agrees, no offense, Gord, but no one agrees other than those two that Justin Holl should be in this lineup. He does nothing productive. Look at the goal that was scored tonight here, the first goal for Vancouver. Holl standing in front of the net, not boxing out JT Miller, just standing beside him, not boxing him out. The puck hits Holl in the legs, deflects into the net. That is the first goal for the Vancouver Canucks here tonight. Justin Holl, lacking boxing out, lacking physicality, not using his size, not using his strength, losing a net front battle. Puck ends up in your net on the penalty kill where he's this penalty killing guru. We gotta have him in there because he's long stick, big body. He sucks. He cannot play it. And if the only reason he's in this lineup is to play penalty kill, my God, give your damn head a shake because he's terrible at 5-on-5, can't get it done there. And you have other guys here who can play penalty kill. Jake McCabe, he can play the penalty kill. Timothy Liljegren, penalty kill. Gio, penalty kill. Brody, penalty kill. That's where you're at with this. So you have other guys. Hull's not the only penalty killing guy who can play on this team. He's really, really not. Dan Freeman, another super chat here. Dan, really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Dan saying, nothing about tonight is Shen say Shen. Oh. You guys have heard of the double Dion, the Pierre Maguire double Dion. But have you heard of the double Shen? There you go. The double Shen. This was not Shen. Sensational. Michael with the super chat here. Michael, thank you very much. Appreciate it as always. Michael saying, Zach, I liked already. Appreciate that. If anybody else is out there right now and hasn't hit that like button, please make sure to do so. 215 people watching. We can definitely get this one to 150 likes by the end of the stream. And also, if you haven't hit subscribe yet, please make sure to do so. We're trying to get to 5K by playoffs, and you guys are helping us get there rapidly. But there's still about 40% of people who watch these videos, watch these streams, who are not subscribed to the channel. So if you guys can hit that subscribe, that would be appreciated, and it goes a long way for us. But super chat from Michael, I'll read it again. We'll get into it. He says, I liked already. As my previous 3 chats, they need a scoring winger to help the boys since they already gave up a lot. Nonsense to stop. 16 can't carry scoring every night. Coach needs to adjust with the mix of lines. Yes, he does need to adjust, and the fact that they have not adjusted is frustrating, and that's kind of where I'm going to with this, is like, why is these things not changing? Why is this not happening? Because we just continue to see the same things, and we continue to see them struggle that way. You have an opportunity to put guys like Marner, Tavares, O'Reilly together, which they had success in the short period of time that they put them together. And then Sheldon Keefe says, nope, can't do this anymore. We got to put him with Matthews and recover what Matthews is doing. Well, guess what? It's not a matter of who Matthews is playing with. It's Matthews and the way he's playing himself. That is what's struggling. That is what's struggling. And I don't understand why they won't change it. But in terms of a scoring winger, I disagree. And the reason I disagree is because you have 4 guys who are supposed to be able to score at a ridiculous rate. Nylander is. Marner is. JT is not. Matthews is not. You have them there. You also brought in these other pieces around them of guys who can score 10, 15, 20 goals. There's other guys who can score. A scoring winger is not what was needed. A guy who can make an impact, whether it be physicality or intensity, is probably what was needed. I think that we got that in Ryan O'Reilly, but I was still looking to round things out in this trade deadline on the final day. I thought Tyler Bertuzzi could have been a good add, and it didn't get done. And unfortunately, he ends up going to Boston. So that is really frustrating from that standpoint. But yeah, I think things need to be mixed up and changed. continue to go on with what's in the chat here tonight. Pro Guide Entertainment saying Hall was playing for the other team. LOL. Yep. Donnie does dishes without Marner. Matthews isn't what you think he is. Babcock would have never lost to Columbus or blown a 3-game lead to the Habs. I think he would have. I don't know. I think this still comes down to the guys. I think this comes down to the guys that are on the ice. And that's frustrating. It's frustrating to me because I think it's the way that they play, their lack of intensity, and I don't know what to say to fix it, really. I really don't. And it's sad, it's frustrating, it's annoying. It makes Leafs fans have no hope. I just in a place of frustration. I still have some positivity that we can win around this year. I think we're better than Tampa. You're seeing Tampa struggle. I'm praying to God that Ryan O'Reilly is not significantly injured, as they're saying. I'm getting notification. No update on him yet. Continuing to refresh Twitter as fast as I can to see if anything comes out. But yeah, nothing happening in terms of O'Reilly or news on O'Reilly. Still looking. No, nothing coming up. But if we see anything, we will discuss it here on this show. We will discuss it here on this show. Care. Matthews does a great RBC commercial and Riley does Pizzaville. LOL. New career. No, that's the same career Morgan Riley has had his entire life, actually. Dishing pizzas like it's nobody's business. That's what Morgan Riley does. They couldn't have picked a better guy, in fact, for that commercial, because that's what he does with the Maple Leafs, so might as well get him in a commercial doing it as well. All he does is pizza after pizza. He is struggling. Struggled this year so far, and God, yeah. Max Entius Decimus, Hall legitimately is incapable of taking a mediocre shot. Correct. Not a good player. Riley's been worse than Hall. No excuses, man. I think he's been worse, especially given his expectation and the bar that he's set and where he should be at. So, yeah, he's been bad. He's been very bad this year, and comparatively, probably worse than Hall, yes. Another super chat here from Michael. Thank you, Michael. Michael saying, you are correct. The top four is supposed to be, however, the fact is they are not. They need help scoring, otherwise being stubborn, and they will waste picks. Again, what do you do? Michael, I appreciate the super chats, and I don't completely disagree, but, and Denver, I'll answer this question here next. I don't completely disagree, but what are you, what are you supposed to do here? Did you want to go, you got to go get Patrick Kane, and you have to go and get, and Timo Meier, and every single goal scorer on every team that you can find because the four need help scoring? You shouldn't need help. If you're a superstar player, you create those opportunities yourself. It's enough of them having this crutch of the media and the fan base saying they needed another scorer. You are supposed to be the scorers. You get paid $11 million. You get paid so much money to score goals. You should not need help. Create it yourself. Create these opportunities yourself. That is the level of frustration with this, where it's beyond anything that you can comprehend when you sit here and you just say, why do you need help? You should not need help. Denver Charlotte Ball, Zach, do you see Keefe going if we lose first round? 100% yes. Even if Kyle Dubas doesn't go and he stays here, I think Sheldon Keefe goes, because I think he's got to go because some things need to change in this. Like, you're just watching the same thing, carbon copy, night in, night out for 82 games and then 7 games in the playoffs, year after year after year after year after year for 6 years. 6 years. Change something else here. Make it, change it. Get a new voice. Get a different perspective from the coach. Get something else there. Like, get a different perspective on all of this. Get a different perspective in there on this team to help them out. I don't know, but I think even if Dubas stays and they say, dude, you did all you could, like, it will keep you around. He's got to go. He's got to go. Another super chat here. If they lose in the first round, that is. Another super chat here from Johnny saying, AM wants 15 mil, yes or no? I say no. Let the retool begin. These guys are the only ones wanting 5 to 6 years. Other teams' players are buying in at 7 to 8. Other teams' players are not buying in at 7 to 8. That is incorrect. I do appreciate the super chat, but they're not buying in at 7 to 8. We just saw Pasternak sign for one of the top 5 highest contracts in the NHL. Connor McDavid is not taking any money less than anybody else. Leon Draisaitl is going to get the bag on the next one. Like, these guys are getting paid. They're not coming in at $7 to $8 million. That's just not reality. If he wants $15 million, I will say this. What we've seen out of this team here tonight, or what we've seen out of this player this season in Austin Matthews, I don't think that this is who he is. I think that he's just having a struggling offensive year, but I think he's still a perennial or like a normal 45, 50 plus goal scorer that can truly make a difference. I think he's just struggling offensively right now. Now, mind you, what does he do next season? How is he going to play then? That can determine whether or not you want to pay him the $15 million. Then, the other thing, does he want that $15 million here, or does he just want it in general? If he doesn't care to be here, then, yeah, look to move on from him, because you have other pieces around. You can open up tons of cap space. You can go get other guys. And I know it's insane to say, but guess what? Connor McDavid will be a free agent very shortly after Austin Matthews could potentially be out of here. And if you trade him and get pieces, then you could have an opportunity to sit here and look at picks, prospects, pieces to help you change your team for the future that come back. That's the reality. That is the reality. I don't know. With Matthews there, I don't know. I think he's just not having a good year, and that's kind of the extent of it. Oh, super chat from Johnny. Johnny, you didn't have to fire another super chat there, but appreciate it anyways. But Johnny clarifying, 7 to 8 years, he meant. I apologize. I assumed you meant $7 to $8 million. Should not have assumed that. 7 to 8 years, yes. It is concerning that all these guys took less than 7 to 8 years. They took their 5-6 year deals and said, all right, we'll get the bag again in 5 to 6 years. So I apologize to you, Johnny. I appreciate the super chat. Yes, that is a clarification on that. 7 to 8 years. Yeah, they're all signing for that. Dan Freeman with the super chat. Dan saying, these guys need help, but it isn't on the scoring card. They might just need heart transplants. Super easy fix. You can walk into any walk-in clinic and order that up like nothing, buds. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know that you can necessarily say that you can just walk in and get a heart transplant and be good to go. I don't know if that's fair to say, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's scoring help that they need. It is the grit. It is the heart and hustle. I think that they've got some of those pieces around, but that's kind of just where I disagree with to an extent about they needed scoring guys around them. But we do have a caller on the line here. Colin McGillis in the chat. Colin, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hey, buddy. How are you? Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. Yeah.
All right, man. So first off, I just like to say, like, the whole concept of this Leafs Digest is awesome, man. Like, I've been watching you for probably the past 2 years, and like back when Goody was on. And I don't know. I was just waiting for something like this to come out to just kind of like real time discuss Leafs games, and I don't know. I just find it awesome, buddy. So just wanted to give you some kudos there with
Well,
that.
thank you. I really appreciate that. And I mean, I appreciate everyone who continues to tune in and stuff because as much as you guys may enjoy watching me lose my mind sometimes or be really happy and stuff, like this couldn't be done, and I would not enjoy this as much if it wasn't for yourself and people in the chat who continue to participate and show support. So I do really appreciate that. That means a lot.
No worries, man. Like I don't know, it's weird. Like I almost have goosebumps right now because like I don't know, this whole thing's been like it sounds bad, but it's been such like a big part of my life for the past few years. Just, being able to talk sports and something to look forward to outside of work and life and whatnot. So anyway, enough of giving you kudos, I guess. We'll get to some Leafs talk. But yeah, no, I hope you make some money off this channel. Like, I don't know, a lot of money off this channel one day, buddy.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And I'm glad that I'm able to provide that for you because, again, similar thing goes back for me the other way. Like, this is something that I get to look forward to in terms of getting to talk about this and getting to talk with everyone in the chat. So, that means a lot that you feel that way and that people watching do as well. So, thank you very much.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, no, I'm sure I speak for a lot of guys with that opinion. Um, but yeah, just to give a little context. So I don't know. I've played amateur sports my whole life and some semi-pro. So I'm from I don't know if you know the area, Zach, but I'm from Clarington. So
Yep.
yeah, we're a pretty big lacrosse center, and also like some of our hockey teams are pretty top notch. So I think my brother is your age because he would tell me back in the day, he played against Chikrin and these guys that you mentioned you played against. So um, yeah, so are you 98 or?
Yeah, 98. I used to
Oh,
play
okay,
against
right on.
the Clarington Toros when
Yeah,
they
yeah,
had a lot of
yeah.
those guys who went on and played like Burkhardt and them in
Yeah, that's
Clarington, I
it's
think.
funny. That's hilarious. Yeah, no, I'm buddies with Burkhardt actually. That's
Okay,
hilarious,
yeah.
man.
So I used to play against
Um,
him.
yeah, Keenan, Luke Keenan,
Yeah,
Burkhardt.
yeah.
Yeah, some of those guys. Um, yeah, they're actually over at my house a lot because my brother's their age. Anywho, so we'll get talking to the Leafs. No, but I just wanted to give you a little insight to my sports knowledge and whatnot. So I've
Yeah.
won championships playing hockey and lacrosse my whole life. So for me, like you'd probably agree, like even though we're amateur athletes, I think the knowledge and the principles you gain playing those high level sports, like they can be translated to the highest levels, right? Like what we've seen winning a championship, like the knowledge we have would still translate to the NHL level on how to win, I guess is what I'm getting at. Um,
Yep.
and I just I feel like this team's pretty close, but I again, a lot of Leafs fans don't really like the Boston Bruins. You hear your typical Leaf, but I personally I love the Bruins. I love the way they play. Their best players are also, and this is why I think people get on the Leafs' best players. And again, you can't teach this, but their best players are pricks. You know what I mean? You got
Yep.
Marchand, you got and in my opinion, when you're wanting to win, you kind of got to flip a switch in your head, right? You got to turn into savage mode, and I don't think I don't know if it's needed really, but I just don't know if the best players on the Leafs. It's already been mentioned in the chat. I don't know if they have that ability to flip a switch and be pricks. And it's been talked about on this chat quite a bit. Like the best players don't get in the scrums after the whistle. I personally don't think that's necessary either, but it sends a message. I think it sends a message basically saying, you're not going to push us around, and we don't need, Wayne Simmons or someone to tell you that. Like we can do it
Yeah.
ourselves. We can push back ourselves. And I kind of see that as a little bit of I don't know if it's the right word here, but like a microcosm to the way this team is as a whole. Like you know what I mean? Soft is what I'm saying. A little
Yeah.
bit on the soft side. I think they, but again, you know, I'm not here to hate on the Leafs or whatever. But quite frankly, you probably agree. We're here to critique them, and if this team had ever got out of a first round in the playoffs, maybe they could overstep some of the fans' critiques. But in my opinion, this team doesn't deserve getting away with anything. You know what I mean? For what they've given us. So, um,
100%.
yeah.
And there's such a level, like, I'm curious your thoughts on it, about where it comes from too, because like it's so frustrating to watch this happen. And the constant critique is this team is soft, this team is soft, this team is soft, they play soft, whatever it is. But you see Dubas bring in, I mean, maybe the word is wrong, but I think you'll understand what I'm saying. Like, bring in tough guys or tougher guys to play against, whatever it is. You see him make the adjustment this year. He brings in McCabe, Shen, O'Reilly, Achari, Lafferty. Like, these guys are not scrubs who are just getting pushed around out there. These guys are willing to join into the mix. And yet we're still here being like, this team lacks intensity. This team lacks, like, is this straight up like this is a problem coming from the top four? Like, do you kind of see it that way as well, or is this just like,
Well,
well, we
yeah,
messed up on the whole makeup?
right. Like that's a little bit of what I'm getting at, and like, you know, like I guess what I'm saying is like when you see, I personally don't think the Leafs best players need to do it
Mm-hmm.
during the regular season, and they definitely need to do it during the playoffs. But I guess if you look, like you would probably agree with this, I'm sure most people would. When you look at the teams who win cups, right? Their best players do the things that we're talking about. And
Yes.
if always like there's really not a team I can think of who hasn't won the cup in the past, you know, let's say five years, we'll go back half a decade, but you know, like even when Washington won the cup, like Ovi and TJ Oshie are in every scrum and they're laying body. Like, am I, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I'm
Yep.
not wrong when I say that. Is again, phenomenal player, but is Nylander ever laying body or in a scrum? Is Matthews
No.
had one single NHL fight to his name? No. And I'm not saying these guys need to do it, but I'm just
Yep.
saying when you compare, it's a copycat league. When you compare the way these teams that win cups play, their best guys are doing it. Like one of my buddies, he said this term the one time, and you know it stuck with me a little bit. And he calls them everything players, meaning they're good at everything, including getting a little bit gritty when you need to. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
you, you know,
McKinnon.
that's exactly who I was thinking of, dude. Like McKinnon, Brad
McKinnon to
Marchand,
me is
Nat.
like the poster boy of that.
Right, right. And I know you because I've heard you previously, but he's my favorite. He's probably my all-time favorite Leafs player, and unfortunately we got rid of him. You know who's a great everything player? Nazem Kadri.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
He's gonna get in there every time. He's gonna stick up for your players, and you know what? Maybe he'll get suspended for the playoffs. But guess what? They've had him and they've not had him, and the result's the exact same. And I would rather go out in the playoffs with a Boston player getting cross-checked in the face when they deserve to get cross-checked in the face, rather than going out in the playoffs having, this is back when Zdeno Chara played.
Yeah.
You know, you watch Tavares, their captain, get punched in the face with Zdeno Chara's glove on. This is years back, but I got a good
I
memory for
remember.
this stuff. Yeah, getting punched in the face, no penalty, but also zero pushback by any of the other Leafs players as your captain's getting punched in the face.
Correct. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like it's just like it's one of those things where I don't know if pride's the word or whatever, but
I think it is. I think it is the word. Yeah.
yeah, I and you know like I agree the best players deserve to get paid what they're getting paid, but the reality of it is, Zach, and you'd agree, like with this salary cap not going up with the pandemic happening and the Leafs best players getting paid as though the salary cap was guaranteed to go up. They've now unfortunately handcuffed themselves. And the other thing that I would add to that, which, you know, does what I've maybe there's been a shift the last few years, but does playoffs matter at all with how much you're going to make? Do you see what I'm getting at? Because before you'd hear, oh, this guy's a playoff performer, so he gets paid for his playoff performance. So these
Oh,
guys
I
are not
understand what you're
taking, yeah.
saying.
So these Leafs best players have not taken any pay cuts for their lack of playoff performance and their soft
Hmm.
play. So to me, why, not to say that that's making them hold back in the playoffs, but if from my perspective, it's like if you're already paid for an entire, let's relate it back to business. If you really shit out in a quarter of an annual season,
Hmm.
if we're looking at business or any profession, right? If you pretty much shit the bed for an entire quarter and do nothing and don't succeed in that quarter, you're not getting paid for that quarter.
Yep.
So why are the Leafs getting paid as though they've played again? It seems to be league wide, but um, it just seems like they've got all the benefits of a cup winning team in terms of how they're treated and how they're paid. And you've mentioned before with, the top notch doctors and the top notch everything. However, to me, it seems like they haven't earned it because I
Yeah.
guess what I'm saying is, does playoffs matter at all when it comes down to paying your players anymore? Because like I don't know, you're old enough to know there's so used to be so much talk about this guy that can't perform in the playoffs, right? And then the
Yep.
salary would be given accordingly. And like now it seems to not matter. And even a guy like and what I was saying earlier with my comment about in Leafs fashion is David Pastrnak, to me, like that was a little bit of a pay cut this year. He probably could have got a little bit more than 11, you know what I'm saying? Or I think it was 11 million.25.
Yeah, I'm
But
gonna
in
pull it up.
typical Boston fashion, a winning franchise, all of their players, their best players, seem to have taken a little bit of a cut, leaving room to have honestly, in the salary cap era, probably the most complete team that we've seen, the Boston Bruins right now. All throughout their lineup, they're able to pay guys 3 million, 2 million. They're not, and then they just had Tyler Bertuzzi, which my God, would I love him on the Leafs right now. He's you know what I'm saying? Like,
Same.
um, yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
So he's
yeah,
11.25, and you are right that the reality is he probably could have got more. I mean, you're looking at Marner sitting there at 10.93, whatever the hell it is like he wanted that
right,
specific number, whatever. And so he's taking like 300K more than what Marner makes. Reality is he probably could have got more. So yes, I do
right,
understand what you're saying, but like I think what my argument was is he took a pay cut, but like he probably could have got another 750K kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like it's not like it was
right,
like the
right.
biggest difference, but you are right though. You did take a cut from what he could have got traditionally. So yes, you're correct there. And this super chat here, I'll get to this because it's relevant to what you were saying and where I kind of wanted to go with it as well. But Dan Freeman with the super chat, and Dan is saying here, AAV is based on 186 days in a season. Playoffs are not part of your paycheck. I'm sure there's bonuses for playoff pay, but Matthews makes 11 million without the playoffs. And I think that this is just to your point, right? You don't get paid in the playoffs. Your contract comes to an end, and like MLSE is technically off the hook once you get to the playoffs. Like they're not paying you anymore. Your contract is done at the end of the regular season. That's when it's over. But to what you're saying, Colin, like you're right in this. In my perspective of like these guys got paid, they got the bag, and they never did anything. McKinnon regardless of the fact that he just won a cup for the first time, prior to that, he was one of the best playoff performers in NHL history in terms of
There you go.
points per game and the level of production that he was at. And the other thing was, if you disagree, not you specifically, like people watching or anything, if people disagree, I urge you to go back and watch games that Nathan MacKinnon played in the playoffs years before they won the Stanley Cup. That is a man possessed. That man deserved
Yeah.
every cent that he got, and probably deserves more. So where you're at with the MacKinnon thing is like, you're looking at him going, that guy can play in the playoffs. We got to help around him. But then you look at Matthews, Marner, Nylander, JT. Here's all the money in the world, and it's like, yeah, well, you haven't done anything. JT had won one playoff round in his career before coming to Toronto, and look, it's not like a knock on him. It's more probably the team that was around him, but it's not like we were bringing in this proven NHL winner. Marner never won anything. Matthews, Nylander never won anything. So, yeah, I do understand what you're saying that way, and I would agree with that. And it's like, well, we already got our money. Like, we're paid. We're done for at the end of the season. That's when the payment ends, and see you later. So, yeah, very frustrating all around. But I got to ask your thoughts on where we're at with the lineups, the way things are being played. I don't really know what to ask you specifically of the lineups, because I don't think we're going to see 7 and 11 consistently moving forward. I think we'll see fluctuation in things, and it'll probably go back to the traditional 12 and 6. But are you as frustrated as I am with what Keefe's doing and his stubbornness on the power play, stubbornness with the defensive pairings, like shifting Marner up and down between Matthews and Tavares? Like, do you have the same
Yeah.
frustrations as I do? Am I kind of on my own on this one?
No, I absolutely do. And like, I'm definitely a Hall hater. So you and I can definitely see eye to eye on that.
Okay.
I think most hockey fans with any knowledge or who have played the game would be a Hall hater. However, you got the analytical, I don't know what you'd call them, analytical wizards who
The
love to
nerds.
love, yeah, yeah. But yeah, like my opinion, he probably does have some upside in some of the areas, but like you've said, like, if that's the case, we can't just play someone on the penalty kill the whole game.
Right.
And not only that, like in terms of your point about the lineups, like he sat out one game and we won the game and we played pretty well. Why not sit him out 2 games and see how that goes? You know what I mean? Why did we sit him out one game? Oh, he's automatically back in the lineup.
Yep.
Like I would have liked to see it, and fully with your point, Liljegren is arguably, if we went through this entire decor that for the entire season so far, arguably top 2 on the team. Like you said, maybe Gio would be more consistent and have been, a little bit better this year. So why is Liljegren sitting out? And I was gonna say, like, I don't know who's their power play coach. Is it Malholtra? I would have guessed that Keefe has the upper hand on making the final call at the end of the day. But their power plays look like garbage for a while now, like you've been saying. So I don't really know. And did O'Reilly get hurt tonight?
Yes, he did. He took a Matthews shot to the hand. Didn't return to the game.
Oh man, yeah. So I missed the first part of the game. I didn't see that. But you know, I'm laughing right now because if this turns out to be
Oh,
another Felino thing, man, like I don't know. Like in my opinion, and here's the other thing. Like again, we can't go back. We can't. Hindsight's 2020. If you're gonna get O'Reilly for the top 6, and then I'm already hearing, people like Kipper and Bourne, guys like that, talking about wanting to re-sign O'Reilly next year for, let's say, 5 million. And I'm sitting there thinking, then why the hell did we get rid of a guy like Zach Hyman, who is absolutely killing it, top 20 points with Edmonton right now, and nobody wanted to pay him 5.5 AAV? If you're going to go ahead and pay O'Reilly, who's no offense to O'Reilly lovers here, he's out of his prime. He's slow. He got a hat trick in his second game. I get that. I guess we'll see what's going to come from it. Um, so I don't know. Some of these decisions with coaching and I know you're a fan of Dubas, but here's let's give a breakdown of Dubas's tenure here. Um,
All right.
he's inherited Marner, Matthews, Nylander.
Yep.
He acquired Tavares, which is a super controversial contract, and I think we all
Mhm.
know why, and I don't need to go further with that.
Yep.
He has traded away Kadri, which, in my opinion, is everything the Leafs needed, and they don't have anymore. He got Barry and Kerfoot for it. I mean, we're all seeing how Kerfoot's panned out right now. He has gotten no good goal. I'll give you this. Samsonov has looked okay this year, but he's failed to acquire any goalies. He signed Mrazek last year for 3.5 million, which was God knows what he was thinking there. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I can go down the list. He got rid of Zach Hyman because he didn't want to pay him 5.5, and Zach Hyman's far exceeding currently past his 5.5. And all these Leafs fans are going, yeah, but in 5 years, Zach Hyman's going to slow down. You know what we just did at the trade deadline? 5 years doesn't matter because we just traded away all our picks for the next 5 years. So, the people saying 5 years down the road he's going to slow down, we're clearly here to win now. So why would that be your argument? You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
he's traded away his two grittiest two-way forwards who are that quote in quotations everything players, Hyman and Kadri. He's he's don't get me wrong, he's found some diamonds in the rough. I'm not gonna sit here and say everything he's done has been bad, but we're doing a full critique of him, and I would have done a lot of things differently if it were me. I think the stuff he's looking to get back in his lineup right now, he's the reason that they're not there because he traded them away. So I don't know. I don't see him. He hasn't really done anything major for the team in a positive light. He hasn't done anything drastically bad that I could say other than a few things. But um, yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's been amazing, and I don't think Keefe has been amazing, and we're seeing it right now. You know what though? Like, I'm coming on here being really critical, but like I said, the Leafs deserve
It's
to be
fair.
critiqued hard. But I guess not to seem like a super Debbie Downer. Let's see how it pans out, right? Like I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat saying, don't panic, and I agree. Let's see how it pans out. But I guess with the short sample size we've got with these new trades, what has it been, 3 games? And with with
Yes.
with all the trades, it's been more games with O'Reilly and them, but with all the trades, and the sample size is small. It's 3 games, but have they not got blown out in 2 of the 3 games now? Their first game they played Edmonton. It was five
Yep.
one.
Blowout.
This
Yep.
game was another blowout. They won one game 2-1. Really, now that I'm reviewing it here, they've lost a lot of scoring in these 3 games. Like they've got
Yep.
one goal in each of the 3 games. So 5-1, two
Yes,
one,
correct.
4-1. So it's
Other than the 2-1 win, but yeah, still,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah, 2-1 win.
But
But
but yeah, still
not
sentiments
the,
there.
yeah, the offense hasn't looked amazing, right? But again, I've just been a Debbie Downer since I got on here. But in my opinion,
No,
the Leafs deserve to be critiqued. And earlier, I fully agree with what you're getting at with the whole benching comment. These Leafs guys, like to our point about salary and all that, like if they're not playing well, sit them. Like that's what good coaches do. And
send
and the whole
messages.
yeah, and I don't know if it's Keith's ego or whatever with the pairings he's got. Like Hall and Riley is a joke. Hall's a joke in itself, but then you add a guy like Riley, who, quite frankly, I think most people would agree now, he has zero value on this team now. Zero.
Hmm.
His main purpose is to score and put up points. He's never been a defensive guy. And now he's not scoring or putting up points, and he is far from a defense.
Yeah.
So his value on the team is zero, and he's 7.5 AAV. Yeah. So Yeah, I don't know, man. I've just been disappointed too many times by this team, and I think they deserve every bit of critique they get. And this channel, gives people a chance to talk about that. Yeah, I'm still rooting for them at the end of the day, but there comes a time when
Yeah.
you got to be real. There comes a time when you got to be realistic about a team, right? And
Yeah.
so far since these trades have been made, I don't know if you disagree. Again, the sample size is super short. That's why I was saying we don't need to, panic yet. But in these 3 games, it looks like they are still very far away from a Stanley Cup.
I would
So
agree. They've looked like it hasn't gelled. It hasn't really clicked yet. They're not seeing the offense there. You're still seeing shitty defense from, but it's like it's the main culprits, right? It's like Hull sucks defensively, Riley sucks defensively. Like we're still seeing the same thing over and over again. Power play struggling. We're still seeing these frustrations. So yeah, I mean, hopefully over the next couple games or whatever, we can start to see it get to form. But you're right, as of now, and you kind of body bagged me on the Dubas moves because yeah, like you're right. I still think that there's good in there and there's things that have been done in there, but like yeah, you are right. We can have that conversation, a full conversation about that another day. We do have super chats here, and one of them is a question for you specifically. I'll get to that one second, but we'll start to this one because it pertains to what we've kind of just broken down, and specifically the details you just laid out there. But Michael with a super chat here. Thank you, Michael, for the super chat. Michael saying management mistakes. One, re-signed 44, used up $7.5 million. Would agree. That's a bad contract now. Number two, kept Hall and Kerfoot in the offseason. That's $5 million. In terms of the offseason, like it's easy to sit here and speculate on that and be like, well, we should have got rid of them in the offseason. We don't know if anybody called on them. We don't know if anyone was interested if he called. So I get like saying, oh, get rid of them. But there is that element, and I would say it for any GM out there, if just like, we don't know if there was interest. And number three, keeping the core players for 6 first-round exits 1 month before the playoffs finally realized that this team was too soft. In terms of the core guys specifically, I don't really like. I don't know what to say in this argument here, and I'm not going to try to like dispute what Michael's saying, but once the season starts, the core guys, it's next to impossible to move them because they have term on their contracts. They're major pieces on a team that's having success right now. Like you just don't see them traditionally move during season. If those moves are going to come, they're going to come in the offseason. And again, maybe this is just another critique on Dubas, but he's remained very committed to the fact that he believes in these guys and believes in the fact that they can win. So that's kind of why they're still here. But we just talked about a lot of those things already, and Colin brought a lot of them up. So there's not too much else to say on that. I do appreciate the super chat, though. This is the one I have for you here specifically. So I'll ask this. Dan Freeman, he did send 2 super chats, but Colin, this one goes to you. Dan wants to know what you think, like you specifically, Colin. He wants to know what you think about Bunting, O'Reilly, Lafferty as a third line. Yeah, do you have any thoughts on what that would look like if that would be something of interest to you?
yeah, I mean, I kind of like that, and I was even discussing with my brother. I think you would probably be included, Zach and Dan. I thought O'Reilly was coming here to give some bottom 6 depth, or at least moving someone down, right?
Yeah.
And in my opinion about that line you just said, like, why the heck not? Like you've played three games now. Uh, the teams basically look like shit, and maybe the Calgary game. So why not try as many line combos as you can before the playoffs? But I also understand it's we're pushing 20 games now before the playoffs start, and you don't want to mix things up too much. You want to get some chemistry going, right?
Yeah.
But no, I like that. And in terms of the like another thing that I just remembered, they protected Kerfoot and Hall, and I think we're all aware of this, but I'll just remind everyone they kept McCann, who's on Seattle right now, unprotected, and he is, I believe, pushing 30 goals.
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? So like, Dubas is far from perfect if you actually go down his whole track record. And again, by the way, Zach, I wasn't trying to put you in a body bag on Dubas. That just that was
I
just
know, I know,
that
I know.
yeah, that was just my opinion to of him. I don't think
Yeah.
he's made some amazing moves and found some diamonds in the rough, no doubt. But
No, I didn't take offense to it. I didn't take
okay,
offense to it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was
yeah.
joking. I was joking.
No, no, I know. I just I just wanted to make sure. But yeah, so no, I think like who knows? O'Reilly could be F now. You know what I mean? Like O'Reilly could
Yeah.
have fractured his hand again, and then we just wasted
Hmm.
a first and a second on him. And then you know what I just thought of when that question was being asked. Um, the Morgan Riley thing. So I just thought of this now. Actually, the whole re-signing him at the time, I was like, you know what? He puts up points. He's super fast. He's all offensive, right? But he's puck moving. Um, and he's got some upside. I was fully, and I think I could speak for a lot of Leaf fans. Nobody's ever thought Morgan Riley would be a number one D.
Yep.
So when he signed that contract, I was like, you know what? There's plenty of time for them to go out and get a true number one D. Guess what they haven't done since then? Not got a
Yep.
true number one D, and they just let one slip by for essentially what they paid O'Reilly and I don't know. Obviously,
Achari.
he's got a hard name. Achari, yeah.
Yeah.
They paid Achari and O'Reilly a first and a second, and I think there was maybe another pick in there. Um,
Yeah, that
Chikrin
went
just
to
went for
Minnesota.
yeah, and Chikrin just went for a first, a second, a third. So why the hell could they? Again, we're not behind the phones, right? We don't know what's going on, and maybe they tried their hardest and something, again. But the fact that they didn't get Chikrin, which is, I'll be honest with you, if they got one forward and then they got Chikrin, I would have been fully fine with what um I would have been fully fine with this team. I don't think they made a lot of moves and I agree they need to make some moves. I don't think they needed to make that many moves. And the other thing is they could have just addressed their number one D, which was the main thing, and maybe added one more forward to the bottom six. Instead it looks like Dubas is just again, it's a short sample size of 3 games. Instead, now it looks like Dubas is trying before he goes down, basically say, you know what, I tried to make all the moves I could. And, the team still, again, we got lots of time. If the team doesn't pan out, that's what he can tell himself. Right. But,
Hmm.
I feel like potentially it could have been a little overboard when all you really would have needed to do was get Chikrin, in my opinion. And that would have solved a lot of problems. Playing Morgan Riley a lot less would have been beautiful. Um, yeah, so I don't know. The Hall thing's always going to be there, and like you've said many times, it seems like he's not going to be out of the lineup for whatever reason. But yeah, and again, is the top six capable of winning in the playoffs? The answer is clearly no.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so it'd be nice to see they're paid like their comparables around the league, but their comparables win in the playoffs or at bare minimum get past the first round. It'd be nice to see if they could give us that for one year. And the bar is super low as Leaf fans. Like we're literally asking for one damn round here. But
I know it's
yeah,
so low.
yeah,
It's
it's sad how
so
low it
low.
is. But that's what we've
Ah.
been accustomed to, I guess, right? But yeah, I don't know, man. If there's anything else you wanna add in, I feel like I've been talking for quite a while on here now, so I don't wanna I don't want to take up too much calling time. But I don't know. This has been awesome for me because I'm telling you, pretty much any game I can, dude. I go to this video discussion here, and it's funny because about a week ago, I was messaging you on how I can write in the live chat, and
Yes.
I realized I found out pretty quickly. So I never downloaded the YouTube app on my cell phone, so
Oh.
I was just on YouTube.com or whatever, and I guess you can't live chat if you're on the website rather than the app. Like once I'm on the app, I can hit the live chat button. So yeah,
Oh, okay.
I always wondered about that, but yeah, so I don't know. I mean, it seems like everyone's on the same page right now with the Leafs,
Mm.
and we could talk all day about them really, but yeah, I don't know. I don't want to. I just came on to share my displeasure with them as a whole. However, there's still lots of time um, to go, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, I guess.
Well, I mean, based on the stuff that you said here, and I promise you I did not take it as a slight, but I think you may have just like completely taken the air out of my Kyle Dubas balloon to an extent, where bringing up some of the shit that's happened. I mean, I even pulled up at one point there on Elite Prospects, Jared McCann. 30 goals,
Yeah,
18 assists, 48 points in 59 games so far this year. And not
yeah.
only, Colin, was it for a Hull and Kerfoot to be protected, but Travis Dermott to make sure he could stay here as a Toronto Maple Leaf.
Oh,
So, yeah,
of
if
course,
that
yeah,
makes you
of
feel any
course.
better,
Yeah,
throw
yeah,
that in there
yeah.
at you. But
Exactly.
I have one more thing I'm going to ask you before I let you go, and there are a couple of super
Yeah, man.
chats here, so I will get to those guys, Dan and Nate. I'll get to those, but one last thing, and it's the one thing that is really, really, like, I mean, I opened the show with it, and it's driving me to a point of like personal insanity. I mean, obviously not actually getting there. It is just a hockey team that we cheer for, but like still, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I want to hit my head against the wall. This power play, like there is no change. There is no willingness to do anything different. There's no urgency in it. If you are looking at this power play yourself, like what do you do to fix this, and can you fix it? Is it just personnel? Is it the way they play? Like for
Right,
me, I would
right,
make some changes. I would probably split them
right.
up, go 2 units, but like where would you
Yeah,
go with this? How would you change things? Because this power play is just
yeah.
not working, and it's traditionally not worked in the playoffs.
Um, so what I'm probably going to say is everything you've already said, Zach. But and probably what most of the chat. Sorry, my throat's a little bit dry here.
Oh, good.
Probably with most, probably with share the same opinion as most of the chat here. So Riley on the power play is does nothing. He's got no shot. So there's
Mm-hmm.
like you've said, he's got no threat. There's no threat coming from up top. We have no threat coming from up top, and I don't know if they've reverted back to this. It's been hard for me to watch a lot of games this year. Like I'm working night shift, so I
Okay.
go in. I'm off today, but so I'll go in at 9 at night, but I got to leave the house at like 8. So I'm seeing the first period of a lot of games, and that's about it. But they used to have Matthews. I don't know if they've changed this in a one timers position, right?
Yep.
um, I guess when you look at the successful power plays around the league, you got to have, I guess, multiple weapons shooting the puck. And I guess you got Stamkos on Tampa Bay, like Kucherov can shoot the puck too. Um, I just don't really know if, I guess Nylander can shoot the puck, right? Like,
Yep.
um, I don't know. Like, you'd probably share the same opinion as I would. Like, I don't know how you fix it when it like if we had a bunch of guys who weren't top 10 players in the league on the power play, well then you'd say, well, we're not skilled enough. But as we
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
we got all the skill, yeah, like we got all the skill in the world, as you've said, and um, yeah, there's something missing. You're absolutely right. I can't quite put my finger on it. Like, is it the big shot from the point? Maybe. I don't. I don't know. Like John
Well,
Tavares, you and
I wonder, sorry to cut you off. I wonder if
yeah, yeah,
this
no worries.
power play, like what the power play is just a smaller representation of what happens with this team as a whole. And what I mean by that is like that power play consists of the players we suffer the most frustration with in the playoffs. Marner, Nylander, Tavares, Matthews, Riley. Those are the five
Right,
guys that we sit here and struggle with the most in the playoffs.
right.
And what are the reasons we struggle with? Urgency, intensity, attention to detail,
Yeah,
scoring ability,
yeah,
frequency to
yeah,
score, and shot like chance generation. Well, what
yeah,
happens on the power play, and what do we have frustration with on the power play? Well, we have frustration with all five of those guys: urgency,
yeah,
intensity, attention to detail, generating opportunities, and scoring. And it's
Yeah.
not obviously the same game. It's 5-on-4 there, and then it switches to 5-on-5 when we see the frustrations elsewhere. But like
Yeah.
that's a perfect encapsulation of watching all 5 of them on the ice at the same time do exactly what happens in the playoffs.
Right. Right. And not to, again, I might go on a bit of a tangent here, but with this
Go for
top
it.
four, with this top group of young guys, I just get I might get some flack for this, but I just get like spoiled little kid vibes. Not just off of Marner. Like everyone talks about Marner. And by the way, Marner played in Clarington for 2 years. 2 years younger than me, my brother's age. I used to
Mhm.
watch him a lot. What I will say is because so when you play junior, right? You mix all the ages together, like 4 ages. So I
Yeah.
played junior with a couple kids who grew up playing on Marner's team, and to say this kid and his parents were a cancer was an understatement. Like apparently,
Yes.
yeah, you remember seeing Marner's mom on all the like Hockey Night in Canada, yada yada yada.
Yes.
I heard stories from my buddies that his mom would get in fist fights with other moms on the team. His dad was yeah man, like his dad was like military style. Like he would videotape Marner's every practice and game, like just sit there with a video camera. um, so this I love Marner as a player. Not a knock on him as a player. Like to be honest, he's the hardest working guy most nights, and
Hmm.
uh he plays bigger than he is most nights, and that's how he's always been. But him as a person, and I just know for a fact he's not an amazing person, and neither is his family. But and I watched that kind of seep into his contract talks, because you'd always hear, "Oh, Marner's dad's involved. Marner's dad's involved," and I can personally tell you from like guys I played with and guys who grew up with him, his dad is that type of guy to be involved, to basically
Right.
say, "Fuck the team. You're getting this much money, or else you're going elsewhere. We're taking you elsewhere." Because he
Right.
eventually, you probably heard of him playing in the GTHL. Marner would go to every team that was the best team. He's always done it. Like he doesn't have loyalty. You know what I mean? Like, um, he'll go anywhere, and so would Nylander. So that, I think I speak for a lot of people. The whole vibe with that top four, pretty much pushing the team to maximize their contracts, and in my opinion, in a salary cap era where the salary cap never went up, has handcuffed this team a bit. And the other thing I'll add, and you probably know this, so when you're a skilled guy, you you're a skilled guy, right? You kind of stay away from the gritty stuff. But when you get to a higher level, you have to adapt to what works. And
Yes.
because it happened to me, I switched my game from a skill guy to a penalty kill hit guy. And I think Nazem Kadri did stuff like that. To me, the fact that, again, people don't pay much mind to it, but I think it's a thing for this team. The fact that these guys will not go into a scrum ever, will not hit 90% of the time,
Hmm.
and they don't think they have to. Again, it's the little things, that, right? It's the little things that win you championships, and when you're not doing those, and you think you're better, you think you're above that, you're not going to get anywhere. Because the best teams who are also as skilled as you, guess what their guys are doing? The McKinnons, the
Hmm.
Marchands, the Pasternaks, they're all doing it. Kucherov hits too. Like he's been on borderline suspension talks in the playoffs because he's head check guys.
Yeah. I
Like,
know. Yeah.
you know what I would rather see than Marner or Matthews not going in a scrum or whatever. I would rather them see in conversations about an illegal head check because they tried to hit someone than not hit at all. You know what I mean? But
Hmm.
um, yeah, I don't know. That's just again, I said I wasn't going to go on a tangent, but I kind of did there. But
It's all good.
yeah, so yeah, no, I just remembered you were saying like you played with McDavid, and or yeah, did you play with
Same
McDavid, or you played
organization. He was.
yeah, so
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it was the same idea with Marner. Like he was with Clarendon for a bit, and yeah, so
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, man. Anyway, I'll I'll stop with the little tangent here, but yeah, so it's I don't know if you want anything else from me or whatever, but
Well, is there anything else that sticks out to you? Anything? Well, I'll give you this. Anything before you go that you want to say, you've got to get off your chest? Anything that's standing out? Like one final statement from you. If you go on a tangent, you go on a tangent. If it's a small statement, it's a small statement. Whatever you're feeling right now. But anything you want to say before you go?
I guess what I'll say is, we can. It's fun to discuss these games during the regular season, but I really hope this team wakes up for the playoffs. Everyone's got to be playing the same way in the playoffs. You know that you can't have any guys guys not riding the bus. Everyone's got to be riding the bus, and
Yep.
I don't know. We'll see. You know what? They did it last year against Tampa. In my personal opinion, it's unfortunate they lost. But Matthews was hammering guys. Marner was playing with intensity. Everyone was playing the same way. I want to see that again, and a little bit more of a negative light on this discussion for me here. But I just want to think positive and wish them the best. If everyone can compete in playoffs and whatnot, that's really all Leafs fans ask for. As long as they're competing and trying to win, we're in a hard division. Everyone knows that. It's 50-50 winning, but yeah, that's I guess what I'll end out with.
All right. I appreciate it. I think I'm looking for the same thing. The chat really appreciated you calling in here tonight. So, Colin, anytime you want to call back in, you feel free. Just let me know. I'm more than happy to have you back on. But you got some fans in the chat, especially our guy Entire Pizza here is a fan of you. So I do appreciate you calling in. It's nice to get to talk to people, hear what they have to say, and hear how they feel about the team, because you get differing opinions, and differing opinions from myself, differing opinions from the chat. So it's always nice to get to hear that. But Colin, thank you very much. And Super Sim is looking for you to get in the Leafs locker room and give the guys a motivational speech after some of the thoughts that you had here tonight. But thank you very much for doing this tonight, Colin. I do appreciate it. I'm happy to have you back anytime. But for now, enjoy the rest of your night, and I look forward to getting to see you again, hear from you again.
Thanks, buddy. That was awesome. I really appreciate you having me on tonight. All right, man.
Yeah, of course. Anytime. All right. Thank you, Colin. I'll see you later.
Yeah, have a good one.
All right. There you go. Colin McGillis calling in, first-time caller on the show. I think that went really well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that as well. But if anyone wants to call in the future as well, just remember you can send me a message by joining the Discord. I'm going to catch up on these super chats here and get to this. So let's start. First super chat, Dan Freeman with the super chat. And again, guys, these are somewhat old, so I'll go through them and catch up on what I've missed. But Dan saying, I'm disappointed Dubas didn't find someone to push Bunting into a better place. Move Bunts up. Love Bunts, but getting so tired of watching him try to ref his own game every shift. He's not a top 3 player. He's a third line mix it up guy. I was interested in them moving. I was interested in them being able to move him down as well. My concern here, Dan, and something that I think might be the case, is I feel like they think Nyes is that guy. I think that they kind of left a spot open for him, and he, in their minds, was the final acquisition. He's the final piece, but he's just not here yet. He'll be coming, but he's that last piece. I am a little bit concerned about that. I'm concerned about the idea of relying on a kid from college to come in here and make a difference, but I think that might be where we go. I think that might be what it is. In terms of being a third line mix it up guy, I think that there's a spot for him in the top 6, but I think yet you're right where it's not a first line guy. I think that that's probably more likely the case than not. So yeah, I would mostly agree with you. I would just kind of slightly disagree into that one. Nate92 with the super chat. Matthews ain't it. His game drops off too much when things get tough. 50 and 50 from games 12 to 62 is what he's built for. Nate, you know what? This is a hard spot to be in right now because until we see the dominance in the playoffs, I can't say you're wrong. I'm not going to 100% agree and say that he ain't it. I think it could still be there. But to an extent here, Nate, like, yeah, the game's dropped off in the playoffs and he hasn't been there. Him and Marner have kind of gone ghost. So yeah, I would. You're not wrong. Is kind of where I would go. I would say maybe I don't fully agree. I think we could see a change, but yeah, it's not. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. Super chat here from Reach. Reach saying, and thank you for the super chat. But Reach saying, do you think there's a concern that if the Leafs lose in the say the second round, the changes that are clearly needed get kind of bypassed or excused? That's a very good question. I think yes. Because the question is, am I concerned? Not do they get bypassed? Am I concerned? Yes. I think Kyle Dubas has been pretty aware of what has worked and what has not, and has moved things around, changed things, kind of adapted to what has and has not worked. He hasn't changed his philosophy, but he's adjusted it. And a first-round win against the Tampa Bay Lightning does give me some concern that at some point they might sit here and kind of say, oh, we're way closer than we thought we were, when in reality it's like, well, boys, yeah, you made it to the second round and you still have 2 more to go. So, yeah, it does give me a little bit of concern. I don't know how this management would respond if they lose in the second round. I think a lot of it would have to do with how they lose, who they play. Like, it would likely be Boston, but you know what I mean? I think that there's a degree to that where it's concerning, because it depends how they lose, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at. How do they lose? Who do they lose to? And then maybe that's it. But I'm seeing some very nice comments from Denver, Charlebois, and Entire Pizza. So thank you guys. Appreciate that. My eyes, I think, are bluish green. I think. I don't know for sure. I think that they are. If you guys are also, Entire Pizza said they subscribe to the channel. I appreciate that. If anybody out there is watching and has not subscribed, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. Trying to get to 5,000 subscribers by the playoff time. You guys have helped out a lot here. We're getting closer and closer to this point. Helping, you can help by subscribing. You can help by liking this stream as well. There's 160 people watching, 130 likes. We can get it to 150. There's no reason we can't get to 150 likes by the end of this show. So thank you. Also, I missed this comment when it was made in the chat earlier, but I see it now. Very funny. This is a direct quote from something Mitch Marner's dad has said in public videos that are out there from like City TV and stuff. Mike says, and quote, I swear to God, Mitch. And if you guys have seen those videos, I mean, it's not funny, but it's kind of funny. Super chat here as well from Dan Freeman. Dan saying, good, can you not say Ovechkin? I think this was in reference to when we were talking about players with grit and stuff. Sorry, I missed that one in real time, Dan, but nonetheless, I appreciate the super chat. And another super chat here from Dan. Again, Dan, thank you very much. Very generous. And I do want to stress to people, I really, really appreciate the super chats. They don't go unnoticed. They mean a lot. It like 2 years ago, you tell me that I would be sitting here getting to talk about the Leafs after every game and have all of you in here participating and enjoying this and subscribing to the channel and sending super chats and stuff. Like, I would have never believed you. I really appreciate the super chats. It is very meaningful that you guys do this. But again, I'm just going to stress, like, I'll never ask for them. So I hope everyone understands that, but I do appreciate them. It does mean a lot, and it's not unnoticed. I want to say that. So thank you very much. But Dan with the super chat here, Dan says, Colin leveled up opinions, bud. Colin did have some amazing opinions. I was really happy to have him in here and get to hear his opinion. He sent me messages on the side before. I know that he was always looking to come on and get to talk, so I was happy to have that and get to hear from him. And even cooler, getting to know that I played hockey against his brother growing up, and and we kind of got to see and or experience some of the same things in our minor hockey days and with players that were around us. So very cool there, and definitely look forward to having Colin call back in again, because that was pretty cool, pretty good conversation with him. Looking at the chat here, what else is going on? Dave's way saying we're talking hockey and these guys talking the host eye color. Yeah. Craig Harrison, you can't trust your big guys when they go ghost mode this often. I think that is a big concern for Leafs fans, because it just continues to be the same thing with the same people over and over again, and they're the ones who disappear, which is really unacceptable at the end of the day. It's not from your most important players. It's not okay. Funny comment from Brian Day, a second round loss to Ottawa. Like, the thing is that it's not even that crazy. Like, if they look really good right now, if they get in and they beat Boston, that would be mental, but like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. And on top of that, yeah, there's no reason that they couldn't beat the Leafs. So, yep, I wanted to answer this one because we didn't really get into too much of it. Denver Charlebois asking, Zach, how do you feel about Murray today? I feel like he played terrible. So Murray tonight had an .833 save percentage, 20 saves, 4 goals against. I'm trying to find that. Look, I don't think he played terrible. I don't think he played well. He missed an extended period of time, and I would say on top of that, the team really shit the bed in front of him, especially in the second and third period, giving up opportunities. You look at the penalty kill, or the power play, where we gave up shorthanded goals. It's a 2-on-1, and then it's a breakaway. Last night, they gave up 2 breakaways, or 2 nights ago, they gave up 2 breakaways on the power play against Joseph Woll. It's like, these are unacceptable moments where you are on an odd man situation. You give up 2. We got lucky against Calgary. They didn't score on either, but you happen to have it here tonight where Vancouver scores on both. They gave up odd man rushes. They just put him in a terrible, terrible spot. He did make some incredible saves. But he was put in some high danger spots. I don't think he played terrible, but I think this was a rough game for him. Hopefully we can figure this out, because no other options really at this point in time. 6 1/3 saying 50K subscribers. Yes, let's get to 50K. Let's skip past the 5K. Let's just get to 50K. I would appreciate that. And Stephen Bierce asking what my thoughts are on Murray. I hope that kind of answered your questions. Duke 2.0, I hope Sammy and Murray perform, but I wouldn't bet the house on it. Ugh. I would not bet the house on it either. There is a very strong possibility that they could just fall off a cliff. It is very possible. And I would not bet the house on it. But another super chat here from Dan Freeman. Again, Dan, really appreciate it. But Dan saying, I love supporting this channel when I can. Thank you very much. And I saw a nice comment from Pro Guide Entertainment talking about enjoying this stream, being the best Leafs channel. I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you very much. But if you guys are watching and you haven't hit subscribe, please make sure to do that and drop a like on this video. Easy to do so. Really quick to do it. All right. We got 2 things left to do, and then we'll wrap this one up. We've been going at it for about 2 hours here. It's almost midnight, and this was a late week, especially with those couple West Coast games. So let's get to our play of the game. My play of the game. My play of the game goes to the McCabe fights. it started with Luke Shen laying a couple big hits. Then Tyler Myers takes a liberty. By the way, I really do believe that the league should take a look at that one. I hope that that doesn't come across as a personal bias, but that is I think that they should take a look at it. I think that that's something they need to look into. That is a 6'7" body coming across and hitting direct contact to the head of Tavares. And then immediately after, McCabe goes in and fights. It shows a lot of the difference of this team where you actually have guys here who will do that. I think Shen would have done it. And then immediately following that play, Shen also comes back out and just starts crushing guys again, like showing why he's the human eraser. I like Shen. I like McCabe. I like what they've done. I also need to give a shout out to the play that led up to it, but not the execution itself. Jake McCabe made an incredible play behind the net, being elusive, stepping out around, draws a defender across, chips the puck over to Brody on the wall, fires the puck up to Kerfoot, who goes out and takes on and gets a good scoring opportunity. Unfortunately, doesn't score as he hasn't really this year at all. But yeah, that's going to be an honorable mention for me because you get to see two defensemen play together, move their feet well, make a nice play that creates an offensive opportunity to go down the ice and score. But yeah, that's kind of where I was at with that. But also seeing Entire Pete saying, "This is my first time seeing this channel /stream TBH. Liked it enough to like and subscribe. Keep coming back for sure." Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, Entire Pizza. And Stephen Beer saying, "Zach, Murray was not the issue. He made some saves here and there. The team just hung him up to dry." I would agree with that, but I wouldn't say he was the issue. I just don't think he was good tonight. Like, I think that's kind of where it goes. Like, he wasn't great, but it is what it is. All right. Final thing. Let's wrap this one up with our grades of the game. Grades of the game. Give me your grades of the game in the chat. And for those who are here for the first time and don't know, just a regular elementary school grade. A, B, C, D. You can fire out plus, minus on any of them. A plus, A minus, B plus, B minus, whatever you want to do. Let me know. Fire them in the chat. But I want to hear your grades of the game and hear what you guys have to say, what you guys have your thoughts on in this one, because this is an interesting one for me. I'm going to go D plus. I feel like I probably could have been harsher on it, but I think a D plus is fair. Whew. Sorry, guys. I'm getting tired here. Wearing down a little bit. D plus. You still found a way to generate almost 40 shots on goal. Demko played pretty well. I mean, it makes 36 saves. He has a .973 save percentage. He is a good goaltender. He struggled to start this year. But I look at the power play. You give up 2 goals against on your own power play. You had 4 power play opportunities. You scored 1 power play goal. Ends up being your only goal of the game. And you give up 2 shorthanded goals. And by the way, 4 power play opportunities against one of the historically worst penalty kills in NHL history. I look at the way that they played in the first period. I look at some of the guys like a Lafferty, a McCabe, a Shen. I give them props for the way that they've played coming in here. O'Reilly, Achari. I like their games so far. Continue to enjoy what Gio's done. I think Brody's been fine. Maybe not the best, but fine. And then to me, it's like it's the guys falling apart ahead of them. I'm really getting tired fast. It's the guys falling apart ahead of them, and it's the big boys. Not showing up, not performing, not giving it everything they have, whatever it is. That is very frustrating. Kayla Elliott saying, "That was my first ever Leafs game I've been to, LOL." My God, I'm sorry, Kayla. That is quite unfortunate to have that be the first Leafs game that you ever get to watch in person. I'm really sorry to hear that. That is, well, hopefully the drinks in Vancouver were cheap because you would have needed it maybe to get through the game there tonight. But yeah, it's a frustrating one for me. It's hard to give anything good, but Yeah. Frustrating. Frustrating for sure. But Leafs fans, thank you guys so much for tuning in here tonight. To all the new subscribers we gained on this show, I really appreciate it. If you haven't hit subscribe yet and you're watching right now, please hit that subscribe button. If you haven't hit like, please take a second to do so. Trying to get to 5K subs by the beginning of the playoffs, and we're on our way there, but every subscriber counts, so appreciate you guys chipping in, hitting that subscribe button. But this has been game number 63 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, losing 4-1 to the Vancouver Canucks on the road in Vancouver, 38-17-8 on the season. Frustrating game here tonight. We'll stay aware of what's going on with Ryan O'Reilly, maybe video coming out soon. That'll all be here on this channel. But Leafs fans, thanks so much for tuning in. Keep believing.